All right, here's an overview of our interface module. The way that this is offered is basically set up for amusement games that operate with a 12-volt internal power supply. I'll cover that next. This circuit board in here, basically, it comes with harness just for a plug-and-play installation. This connector right here is an 8-position, and that basically is going to power your telemeter, whether it be USA or NIAX. This connector here, we will customize this exactly for your application. And basically, we put wire connectors on there so you can connect it very easily. When you use the e-port, the power will also come to the 6-position connector. The harness that comes from the telemeter has this little bit of an extra connector that basically will plug in there. But when you get this, it'll be sealed, and it's going to all the wires will be feeding out nice and neat. For all the capital vending kits, just a little bit of information to make sure you have the correct one. A lot with colors. This is a yellow LED currently under power, so if you have yellow, anything capital vending operates on 12 volts. This blue LED is basically going to light each time a customer puts money in the machine, and the telemeter is reporting that back as income. This purple LED, we use that when a credit card is accepted, and that will pulse for each time for the value assigned. Our red LED here just indicates plus 5 volts. So with this board, this yellow right here is going to connect to your 12-volt power. Other colors we use is orange for 24 volts, and we have white and black that go to various 120-volt applications, like coin-operated vacuum cleaners is one. On all the capital vending kits, if you have a blue wire, this basically is connecting to your pulse input. So this is going to go to your coin switch on a video game. Optionally, there's a connector, be a bit hard to see, on this 15-position connector here. We have inputs, and they'll have a green connector, and those are basically switch inputs or temperature probes. So here on this kit, if you and these are only for NIAX. If you wanted to have a door open switch, a vibration switch, something like that, that would have a green cable, and that will connect to the 3 or the 4-position connector. If you need 12 volts to power it, it will be the 4-position. But basically, for all the switch inputs, there's information on the Capital Vending website. So again, we've talked about the colors. Here, this switching power supply, if you're in the amusement business, should be very common. You'll see this in Crane Games, a lot of amusements. This right here was, taken out of a game just for this video. You're going to see, 5-volt and other wires connected, but because this has the yellow cable, the way we're going to connect this is this common. The 2 common here are ground, so they would get the black wire. The red right here is for the plus 12 volts. So basically, this 12 volts supply is powering this box as well as your credit card reader. So the next and final step is basically we want to talk about how this is connected. This game right here, we took this out of a video game, just kind of make it a bit easier to film, and this is a much more newer, modern, standard game. I'm going to go to this and go to a classic Ms. Pac-Man once I get done with this. When this harness is supplied, I guess we're going to have male-female terminals. It's up to you how you want to connect this. If you're familiar with how video games work, you could connect these just by soldering them or using fast-ons. These terminals that we supply make it very easy to do. So basically, just what I want you to do is, if you're going to find a quarter switch, is kind of probably the most popular way at this time. A lot of newer games kind of have a jammer-ready connector that we make a harness that our kit will plug into, but this is, by far the most common, probably been used for the last 20 years. So here's my coin switch. So I have my black wire, another color wire, and this, when we connect this, we want to basically identify which is ground, and I don't always assume that black is ground, and sometimes they use different colors. Sometimes people have made these from kits and they're not wired correctly. So kind of what I always like to do before installing the kit is I just find out which one of these is ground and which one is plus 5, so I know I'm connecting it correctly. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take the needles on my meter, and then I'll zoom in on this. But so basically, with the power to the game on, I put this to what I call the common, and to this right here, what I call the normally open. And now I'll zoom into my meter. So here I have plus 5 volts. In the event that I do it this way and it's negative 5 volts, then I know which wire is ground. On this example, it's very easy because black is ground. Other games that you start with, they might not necessarily use a black wire. The one thing you'll know, if you connect this kit and when you swipe the credit card or hit the test button, if it does not give credits, all you really need to do is reverse these wires. But if you identify which is +5 to begin with, you'll save that step. So if you don't have your meter with you, no harm will be done, but you're just not going to get your credits. And basically, to show you how easy this is, I'll have you just basically with the power off to the game, power off. So you'll disconnect this connector right here, put this new connector on, and this is going to piggyback, so there's no cutting involved, no soldering. You can do this without a whole lot of tools on location. So here I'm going to my normally open. I'm going to make a little bit of room, like I can't have this terminal connect, like right next to it is a normally closed terminal, so it's very important those two do not touch. So I'm just bending that away. This cannot touch it. I guess I could just reverse this as well. And then this right here is my original normally open, and that connects. So again, these wires can't connect the other pins, but basically when it's installed this way, when customers put in coins, it's going to record those coins and feed back your office that the money's come into the machine, just so you know how much money's in your game. And then when they swipe the card, it'll deliver the assigned value to your game, so your customers can use their credit cards or mobile devices to kind of help you make a little bit more money with your video games. All right, so now I'm going to move on to a classic Ms. Pac-Man video game, and on that game the wire connections are going to be soldered to the switches. The other thing to remember, like on this Ms. Pac-Man game, they did not have switching power supplies that would look like this. So if you don't have this power supply, or if you're really not sure of what to do, we do offer technically what we would call an assist service, where if you call us, but for a fee, I guess we're going to supply all the parts and get you everything, basically just to make it plug and play. But again, for this common one, this power supply makes this easy. You really wouldn't need the help. But now I'm going to go do a Ms. Pac-Man that is like a 40-year-old game. It does not have an internal power supply like this, so if you're doing a really old game with a credit card reader, you may need a supplemental power supply. Okay, here's an update to our harness assembly we make for our various credit card interface kits. This was recommended by a customer. In the past, the harnesses were made, they were very machine specific, and sometimes the customers didn't know what they had, or they were buying 5 at a time, and and they didn't always get it right. So basically what we've kind of evolved to is when you buy this harness, all the capital vending kits, the blue outer casing is going to be for the credit line, the black for ground, this red is for +5. So this is going to be installed in basically a machine where they use, where they're pulling an input low. And so basically when you get this harness, these wires are not going to be stripped. So if you're going to be putting this in an older Ms. Pac-Man game and you decide to solder, you'll need to strip these and solder. We're including 2 splices. So with these, you would just connect this here and splice this to the existing wire in your machine. The other option is, and this is kind of shown earlier in the video, if you have a coin switch with terminals, we're going to give you 2 sets of piggybacks. So one of the sets is for a 0.187 size connector, the other one's for a 0.25. So when we send this to you, you're going to get all this in the bag. You're typically only going to use one of these depending on how you'd like to do the installation, but this should make it easy, so you're basically, with one kit, one harness, you can always do the installation on location quickly. All right, this is kind of a much older video game, and it requires a little bit more work to install a credit card reader. So I kind of just want to go over the basics. Again, like we can supply these black mounting plates so you can mount your credit card reader so it could be flush. If you're dealing with wood, you could drill your 4 holes to mount this, or like we have these little mounting plates to kind of make it look nice. So again, you may want to mount this up here rather than drill into the door and make this so it's very visible for your customers. Basically, when you're installing the credit card reader in one of these older games, you're going to want to look and identify the coin switch. And just the way that you're going to connect the two wires, like our stock harness that we're going to send to you, and it was shown in the beginning part of this video, it has the press-on terminal, so there's no cutting or soldering involved. Some of these older video games, if you look at it here, and there's like a solder connection, what you'll either do, you'll need to either solder the wire on here if you have the skills, or with our harness, we're going to supply like a little clip so you could splice into this. Most important thing, before you splice into it, it's important that you know which is the ground and which is the +5 that you pull low. So basically, you just want to bring a voltmeter, and what you're going to do, I'm going to just show you this, or if you're not too familiar with a voltmeter, basically, and then when you connect it here, I want you to see +5 on the meter. So as you can see, I'm going to zoom into my display, but this black wire right here is your ground. So when you're connecting this, you just want to know, like, we're going to supply you the cable that's going to go here has the blue outer coating. There's the black wire and the red wire. The black wire needs to go to the connector that's ground. If you connect these backwards, and I'll show you how that works on my display now. So here, rather than 5 volts, it shows -5 volts. So you want to make sure the black wire here to here, and this wire that the black wire shows as ground is where you connect the black wire from the harness we provide.